let us begin. Did you guys have anything you wanted answered or something you wanted to look into before we get to it's Buckus. Hello. Uh,
Hello.
Before we get into anything, I was thinking of going over the Dratty guide to P1. Um, if nobody had anything, and that might just spark some discussion and also just be worth going over and talking about.
So what did the P1?
Uh, the Dratty Dr. Atnos guide.
Dr. Atlas thing?
Yeah. And we could watch that with commentary, unless somebody else has anything else they want to go
I
over
feel like
first.
kind of need to see. I want to play some more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to see what I need to struggle with.
you
It's a
gain
weird
so
week.
much more from videos like once you have polls on it, right? Because
Yeah.
the feeling of being in there is way different than the videos, but we can still do
Dude, I'm done with P1.
something.
Let's go.
I just really want to see get used to the feel with gate and windrush on the pull.
I don't think gate's gonna matter. Like, I think that gate is like, I mean, I'm
I think it's kind of whatever.
Like,
I
I don't
think
think
it'll.
it's useful.
I think the only good thing I think about the gate is it'll keep everybody stacked. Because right now, I think the reason
I think the gate to the other spot makes more sense.
Which other spot?
The gate to where we're gonna stack up before the balls start flying. Like,
I think you
then
get
you're
both, right?
guaranteed. Then you're guaranteed to be.
I think you can get both.
That's what we're doing
The
both.
first one, and then
Yeah, and then the
Yeah,
intermission.
you have enough time for both.
Because it's a minute and a half cooldown. If you look at you're on the stream, your gateway press would be at probably about 50 seconds in. And then the boss flies away and we need to gateway at 2:30. So there's a 10-second leeway there where you can gateway again.
So I think just getting used to DPSing more from the left and people not going ahead and being more in the line will make a big difference for like why I felt real scared during that phase.
Yeah, and
Because looking at
was
like
the
looking at the pulls, it's like the orbs are so much tighter, and our pulls they were like 3 wide, like real wide, and
okay.
it felt real scary. Like I don't know if that's just people like shooting ahead or the balls just felt way more spread, especially attacking from like the backside of the boss.
Yeah, we could look at that. Let's look at one of our. It's not let's see here. It's
I mean, definitely think I'm gonna
perfect.
record our pulls so we can review video after the fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that would be extremely
It'll
valuable.
be beneficial. Yeah.
Yo, I have
I
to
can't
log
wait.
in.
Shoot, we know your password now.
Do you?
It's sorry.
We don't have to log in either.
Classic password.
Logs too.
Okay. Let's just take a look at one of those polls at least. Why am I doing that? Let's look at like our last poll that was best and see how we were
spread we are.
Yeah, how we were stacked or not, right? Okay.
It's right after the dream run, yeah.
Yeah, or during, right?
dude, there's fucking mages, dude. God.
So this is the thing.
Look at that spread right there.
Yeah. Look at the mages ahead, you in a weird spot.
Is this even real?
Dude,
No, now we're moving.
Dude,
to the...
core.
This is this is it. This
Now
this
we're
Now the
moving.
dream was gone, yeah.
this is it.
So here's the line.
Yeah.
So that was like Muck was kind of far ahead.
Be a little, yeah.
Muck and that other mage. But it doesn't take much, right, for that first couple to be like.
You only need one and it'll kill everything. If they...
Vex is all over the place.
Dude, what a menace of a fucking class. So stupid.
The boss cast, streamer end here, and Mazza having the gate to get up would be very nice for everybody.
I think it'll just give us like uptime on boss, which will like let people move together easier.
So Dreamrun's been cast. Orbs should be right about now. So yeah.
Ziddy and Muck.
Maybe, yeah. And really, this is fine. Vaskin being on the boss right here because it's like right in line
Yeah, I'll be fine.
with everybody. Let's just do one more spot check of a later pull.
What's the time? Did you look at the time right there? You did you get to?
I didn't. I should have. I don't have it saved. These triple soaks. There. Mazza's got the boss. We do the.
Blazes.
This is the frontals.
There's like frontals and blazes there.
Yep. And then we're all getting in position. City is there, dude.
So Dreamland's there.
I'm out in front now. Like, oh, Mal grips me. Maybe a little out in front. Last ascending
Dude, why
rally
am I
right there.
such an ethical gamer, dude? Holy shit.
It's because you're slow and you're following the mass of the pack.
Yeah, me and
All
Muck,
those idiots
me
are
and
all
Muck
over the
maybe
place.
a little bit.
I'm like, a little bit?
We could tighten up.
Well,
I
core
mean,
a little bit. Not
if you
too.
look at it like in context, when you zoom it in, it looks obviously like a big difference, but it's not like that crazy. We could definitely do a couple steps though on this
Dude,
pull.
these healers are the problem.
Whoa, now, not all the healers.
Yeah, you're probably in the next one, okay?
So Caligon and Avalard, did they die? Caligon died earlier. Do the okay, like the beam or the frontal here. Okay, and then Avalard got hit by an orb. I wonder where his positioning was. You just super back in it. Here. He dies. Yeah, the first set of orbs he was just back there. Okay. So yeah, we could stack a little bit better, and I think having the gateway there would help with just getting us all in the same place. And then yeah, make sure Muck and I do a little bit better. Maybe Ziddy, keep an eye on everybody. That is good. Okay.
One thing I was wondering is, do we need a roar there? Because if we need to, I can swap my roar to like a 1 minute.
Oh, we have it planned for the second here. Because Buckus doesn't have his backup with his Windrush.
I mean, I can get mine back up. I can do a thing so I have it up.
Right. But I don't think we need it. I don't think we need movement anywhere else, really. So
yeah.
I think, and Banna doesn't have like a big ramp here either, so her sending a roar
It's like whatever.
It's not too bad. On a global. This is a scary moment though. This is probably where, especially like these lines, this is probably where I sign personals.
Is lines the blaze?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right after, because we'll be low.
I was struggling to trank because I'm like, I gotta stand and trank, but you know, it's not a great spot with all the blades.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a weird spot. I'm not sure why this druid sent it here. You can maybe
they wanted to race,
maybe they did
run
that.
away and immediately have to trank and dodge B.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the beams are like, if you can't position yourself so you're like far enough out of the group where like you're probably not going to get clipped if you're not sacking.
Well, don't we have the soak right after that? So the problem is I'm the far
you
left
have
one,
some
which is in
time.
the middle.
You have like
of
10
the...
seconds.
Probably a sign for Prague Healthstone. Well, I don't like the text or the icon. Okay. But yeah, that'll be one of our more rippy moments really early on in Prague, is getting to this point. So think about that. All right, we can go through the Dr. Atnos video and see if it inspires any.
It's going to be aimed to give you the information you need to
Yeah.
are useful for this, along with log.
Yeah,
One
you
is
have the
quite
weak
fun.
auras, got it.
There's one extra weak aura that a guildy of mine created.
We don't need that.
Just yet. We will instead start off with.
Dude, I kind of want to get the one that Max uses that shows the direction of the blazes.
Whoever pulls it first.
How old is this video?
Yeah, that was
Just like any boss.
that was
If anybody else
liquid.
randomly pulls first, then they're gonna die.
It feels good.
as a tank, I
But
would
it's
leave
like
it
kind of a
open
lot of
on
info
the
on the
countdown
screen.
timer instead of 0. Just to
Dude, why does he have such cool text above his deaths, HPS, and DPS?
Oh, he knows which one it is. Which color it is.
That's
DPS
so
is green
cool.
is weird.
First off, we have the frontals, but
I like the boss timer over here too.
That's on every
that come out
details meter by default.
Is it really? Okay.
These images spawn pseudo randomly around the boss, but they won't spawn in the fire. They'll avoid the fire.
Something I noticed about these images too for baiting.
They'll wind up for a little bit, and then they'll take
Look at
aim
him.
that person,
Dude, he's
and
playing
then they'll
polo.
put their frontal in
Boom,
that
boom.
direction.
Did you see that?
So what we actually do
Polo.
is we have players with each of these frontal sets assigned to bait these frontals. That's why if you see on the
What I noticed is that with the bait frontals, it's about 1 second. So they spawn here, and then you got basically from 1 second here. This is when they can start to turn, and then basically once this timer runs out is about when they lock in. So they're locked in at this point. So it's actually like 1 second before that timer ends that you really want to be running and baiting.
I've seen them move though, like while the beam is out, so I don't know if that's completely like I think they can still move for a second here.
That shouldn't be the case. It's only the tank beam that should be able to move. But
Oh, maybe that's the one I've been seeing. Okay.
If you don't react to this,
maybe.
instead they're just going to aim towards the nearest person who might just be in the clump of your raid, and then send a frontal right through your raid. But if you do this, if you have people looking for these,
I don't know where this one is facing, but
a lot better. And we actually frequently assign.
they won't spawn in the fire either. I learned today.
This area, you're going to be responsible for looking in this area. You're going to be responsible for looking in this area, and you're going to take these ads if they spawn there and aim their stuff off harmlessly.
So for us, let's see, who do we have assigned to that? So that's in here. I put the stars next to it. So since Caligon and Emperor are assigned to the far left, they're looking for the ones on the left side of the boss. And then LK, Mal can look on this side of the boss for baits. Is the idea, but anybody can do it. And sometimes they do spawn very close to melee, and it makes kind of sense for melee to do it. But that was my inspiration for that, was the recommendation that we have some people on either side.
Emperor's always on the left baiting.
Downtown to mean like one's coming from downtown.
I've never seen Caligon over there.
I think it's a very good call to.
Yeah, a call through the boss there is.
Melee stack, I'm not safe. Now it's not going to one-shot you, but this will absolutely contribute to.
We're gonna bring out the old Billy.
Anything else?
Billy the boss.
Billy the beam.
These need to be dispelled. I think the liquid weak ore pack will glow.
Freddy the frontal.
Assign a healer to each person to dispel them. Everybody's life is made a lot easier.
Maybe
the
this
more
beam
dwarves
needs a
you have
different
in your raid,
beaming.
Because each person with dwarf can click that stone form button.
Everybody
and
race
grab their
change.
stacks. In this phase, you don't want a dwarf.
Yeah,
too
I like the
aggressively,
shaman named
because
Richard
they'll come
Petty.
out all the time,
Good
and
like
you want
race
to really
car.
have a chance to
NASCAR
dispel
left.
them.
I know, he's been that way
If you get over like 6 stacks
forever in this guild.
I, as a
The
tank,
Pop-Tart
actually
corn
modified
dog.
mine so it would only
He's
go
the guy.
for 10 stacks because I felt pretty safe at 6. So okay, first things first, frontals come out. Does a moderate amount of tank damage here. We do our tank swap here. Again, this just straight up copied from Echo. And then we're placing our first 4 firestorms. And you see we've created this little L-shaped pattern. It's actually pretty helpful to do this exactly this way. If you end up filling up more of the middle of the room, for instance, it will mean that you have less space later. If you do this differently than this, it's going to be annoying later, basically. It will make the rest of your phase more annoying, and it will make
The second drops are just really annoying
you do want to try
if you don't
pretty
do
hard
it
to
this
actually
way.
replicate this.
Oh, the one along the side?
Slightly different strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at Liquid Kill, they don't do it that way. They do the 4 on the line. They don't do the L.
Yeah, everybody borrows this Echo
This is
strat.
exactly where those are.
This is actually directly from Echo's raid plan.
Melee players will prefer this side, range players
This has
prefer this side.
been debunked, by the way. They used to think that it picked 2 melee and 2 ranged. It doesn't actually do that. It can be 4 melee or 4 ranged, so people have dropped that assignment. Yeah, it picks healers, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
one of our evokers is up ahead and is going to take this ad and aim it off to the side, right? And we have now all.
Oh,
of
that
these
was
ads
nice.
aimed hopefully away
This
from
guy.
them going
There was one time
Gamer.
I got
that saves a ton of
the soak on, like the drop on the far left, and nobody would move for me and like scooch down, so I like ran across like 2 other people, and
Yeah.
so it's just, like people just need to be aware of like there's 2 to
People
my left, 2
I
to my
had-
right, or
I had an example of this earlier. Let's see. It was on Crit Cake's guide. They're on Nice. Please. Wow,
I need to
Intel.
give you my
Amazon.
YouTube Premium login for these.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's actually right here. I had it saved, and I was showing LK this earlier. Yeah, this is a re-clear kill for them, but this illustrates Caligon's point that he's been lambasting us with pretty well, I think. Is this is right after the first stream rend, by the way. So they do the big move, and then people plant with the blazes. He's talking about how he can't stay on the boss, but watch these drops and how they deal with them. First off, look at that. Like, they could have definitely been playing over here by this side of the boss, and they're already like
melee though, so it's whatever.
They're already five seconds ahead. It's usually whatever, but watch what happens to him, Buckus. Like, they do not negotiate well here. This is the Demon Hunter right here, and then there's a Enhancement Shaman and a Ret Paladin, and they try. This guy's trying to give him space. He's doing fine, but these three, the melee, are like crowding the crap out of each other. And they could have had somebody on this the far side, like off the screen, and that would have saved basically everything. And it probably should have been the Demon Hunter that went there, but the Demon Hunter went here early and just planted, and then that threw these two off. We can just check that again in real time.
Right. As soon as my cooldowns come up, I will be using.
Yeah, and then they have this drop, and then watch what happens to their mythic soaks because they have that weird drop.
Basically, just use cooldown on cooldown.
They have to, and I don't know how they adapt to this, but they have to run one on the other side of the hump that they just created.
At this point.
And then they have the two. It's not that, but in real time, like to adapt in like the next 5 seconds to be like, okay, we're gonna do one over here. You know, like I'm sure they've done it, over hundreds of polls, but that just seems rough. If we don't have to do that, that would be great. Yeah. But I mean, if you just imagine them when these spawn, if they were over here, and they were 5 yards closer,
like,
they could have.
As a melee brain, they would have done the same thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the extra 1 second would have made them spread out more because they all kind of like panicked and went the same way.
Kinda, yeah.
They're still gonna switch back and forth and do the same thing.
They would have had more time to panic though, and there's more likelihood that it would have. But I get your point. Like it could have happened anyway.
Because they feel like they spread out. Because if you play it, and look at the guy that goes to the far side to the left from the way you're looking right now. Like he feels like he goes far enough left. Like that dude up there.
The Demon Hunter, this one.
Yeah.
Or this one.
No, the Demon Hunter.
This guy. Okay.
That's in the middle. I bet he feels like he went far enough left. Because like right there, the Demon Hunter's like, okay, cool, I'm in the middle. Then Leandra and Fabioso should have plenty of room.
Yeah.
And they still have time, right? They still have like a second and a half.
And he doesn't recognize that there's a spot here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's him.
And so
that's
he goes.
The shaman being bad.
He
but
did.
The shaman goes there. The shaman's fine. The only person who screwed up is the Ret Pally.
Yeah, and he got
the
close.
Ret Pally should have gone to the left more. That's the only person who screwed up there.
Yeah, and look, it duplicates right here and puts one there anyway.
It's because the Ret Pally and the DH are on the same square.
Yep.
I will be using them again.
That is interesting.
That's like a one person screwed up.
Yep. And it's not, obviously it's not a wipe, right? They kill it here, but it's just more to react to, and it's like a little more chaotic than we're going to want it to be for early prog. So just using that as an example of positioning and getting close as early as you can, and then, Sim's point of the scooch method is definitely well received. Like, if you're in a spot and then people are coming in, if you can make room for them by moving over like one spot, That's way better than just planting.
Almost the thing whereas melee, you don't want to be stacked on your homies, so that way there is some differentiation. Because like all three of them are pretty much stacked, right?
Right.
Whereas if they all kind of like fanned out among the bosses, it'd be easier for them to tell which way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like that's gonna be a weird habit to get used to as melee, to not be that stacked. Because they're all like super stacked right there.
Yeah.
Well, and they may not even know for sure if they have it or not. Like, they probably have like a weak aura on their screen, but like a lot of times when you have a big circle underneath you, like a lot of times you're a melee trying to figure out if it's even you, right?
Yeah. Big wigs will give you a pretty big sound, but
right now too, and all that stuff.
yep, dodging the firestorm circles. Cool.
I think it'll be a thing though. Like as a melee, you just want to like be by yourself, so it is a unique spot under you, so you know.
Yeah.
There's tons of other players who had like that, where it's like it is easier to tell if you were not standing on somebody.
Yeah, if they were fanned out, which that's like right after the blazes, after the dream rend, if they were fanned out, then they would be in pretty good shape there, and it would be fairly easy to determine who should go where.
These soaks are 3 swirlies. They're private auras, so you can't assign them.
But basically, if you're mobile, you want to kind of be noble, nice dude, and take the far one as early as you possibly can, because then that leaves the middle ones and the closer ones for people that aren't. So like in that case, the demon hunter could have dashed to the edge and leave left for the ret paladin, like the slower classes, a chance to get in the middle, and that would have been pretty clean.
Spread out in these left, middle, and right.
City's here.
And
Grandma T is here. What up?
Is City that guy who the horrible bait kills us all?
It wasn't that bad.
Yards out of the just
the yard or two.
If you stand in the Venn diagram, right?
Did he just leave?
Where 2 are hitting you,
He left.
get hit by both, and you're going to take extra damage.
Yeah, screw you guys.
Much more. So take 200% increased damage, I think, from the second one. Tanks actually intentionally do that. We had our tanks intentionally stand between left and middle. Although on this particular poll, it didn't actually work out here.
Yeah. We do all that.
Didn't actually get close enough together for there to be. Oh, maybe we got in the Venn diagram there, but no, it looks like we didn't. I press AMS there, so the extra damage doesn't even affect me anyways. All right, now we have our first blazes of the fight. Blazes are consistent throughout this entire fight, and in this phase, they mostly serve to kill you if you get hit by 2 or more and other damage. So you just want the general rule to be, try not to move your blaze. If you have to move your blaze, move it as soon as it spawns and then plant. But ideally, just move along your blaze if you need to move. And if you're going to be getting hit by multiple blazes, hit a defensive.
He's tank brain, by the way. This is definitely, none of that's wrong. But the scariest part of this is not the blazes or getting double blazed. It's the fact that there are frontals coming out at the same time as the blazes. Like those frontals come out like right after blazes finish, and that's what's scary. Is you can get hit by.
Before they start spawning, like the fourth one that goes out.
Yeah. So they go frontals. So blaze, frontals now. So you don't have time to get healed up between that blaze and that frontal. So if you accidentally miss one of those frontals, so watching the blazes on your feet and also kind of like having like a soft zoom on your eyes where you're like also aware of what's going on around you, that's the difficult part of that, in my opinion. It's not getting blazed twice. It's not getting blazed and then also frontaled at the same time.
Blaze isn't that much damage, like all things considered. Like it's scary, but it's not like you're gonna die. The frontal is you're gonna die.
Yeah, it's just if it doubles up, yeah. They both do about a little over half your health, so you just kind of get double tapped.
Does Blaze hit that? I thought Blaze was
Yeah, watch.
And then there's also frontals going on.
It's about half of people's life, and the frontal is more. It's like more than
65%.
Yeah.
The frontal is scary.
So this definitely one taps like the priest if they get frontaled or whatever.
Again, look at this beautiful work by our evoker down here. Right, we've got the blazes starting to come out. They've got a blaze over here.
Their evoker is sick.
Spawned down here, and they notice that and
bait both of them. Yeah.
Off towards the edge rather than running in towards the raid and baiting them there.
That's sick.
After that, we have our first dream rend of the fight, which I drag a little bit into the fire here. You don't have to drag it this far into the fire if you're short on damage here, but we were stopping damage in this phase anyways, so it didn't bother me to hurt the melee uptime. And then you want to move nice and far away, right? And during this, as soon as the
Let's watch their distribution here. Yeah, they're so clean, being
Yeah.
right there.
The spread is very important, I think, for the initial 2 sets of balls.
Yeah, like staying planted, stack and then plant until the first scooch call is happening, which is right about there. This is ooh, oh wow, I went way too far. This is probably a better time to look. This is right before the scooch call, and yeah, they're just super stacked. So yeah,
grip is stronger the closer you are to it. So you want to get nice
scooch it,
and then you want to
scooch it,
stagger steps of moving away,
and then big move with blazes.
projectiles until they've stopped spawning, and then you can do a nice big move.
I think he talks about it. So
This big move is pretty dangerous, right? So you see there's the weak aura that's telling you when you can start the big move. So we're all kind of waiting, making sure that we bait these last orbs along this plane rather than towards where we want to be. And then as soon as we get this big move, we're starting to take this big move. But blazes are coming out at the same time. So for this set of blazes, I just plan.
we should be healthy for these, by the way. Our cooldowns are really good for this set. It's the second set.
Well, there's not much damage going out either. Like going into that, right?
I would instead have just ran along my
Every
blaze
time you
to
get that
keep
buff
moving
from
the
Huts.
boss towards where we want it to
Yeah.
go. But instead, I just plant until my blaze goes off, and then I keep moving the boss, and we bring the boss over here. Another set of frontals coming out here, and again, baited so that they're not aimed at the raid. And then we get the next Firestorm. Now, the Firestorm is here, so we do the the 4 of them along the wall here, and that's why this shape earlier was nice, right? That's why we did the first 4 like this, is because it leaves us with 4 empty spots over here to do on this next Firestorm. So once we fill that up, we effectively have gotten an entire row from our 8.
They're also kind of dirty here. I wonder how they handle their mythic soaks.
Come along here towards the middle of the room.
I think the one just goes more
Those
towards the
baits
ball.
were so clean right there, though. You
Yeah,
got
they're
those
baits.
baits out.
Oh, they just went in a line. They don't even care. They didn't do anything on the other
I think
side.
you have enough space, so it's not a big deal. Like, damage is high enough now where you don't get that final round, so I don't think this is mission critical as it was in like the initial kill.
Yeah, definitely. It's just way easier to see and react to, but yeah, you're right. It's not as critical. Baits.
Does that preservation or evoker or whatever bait 2 of them?
Yeah.
You can bait multiple.
He did it.
It happens a lot, actually, if you look at it. Like, a lot of them get double baited because of the way they spawn. There's always a couple next to each other. And if everyone's stacked on the boss, like, the one person out should have both of them on them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insanely good. Our range can
Like, I
definitely
think
learn from
people would be
that.
trolling if right now, if you look at your screen, if people were standing, like, where his Army of the Dead cooldown, or what is that, Raid's Dead cooldown, that 30?
Yeah.
People
if they were
standing
right
there
here,
are what
bait
we are
it through
doing,
the
they're
boss.
fucking the raid. It's because we have range standing like right there. So that one up top would bait across the raid instead of being stacked on the boss.
I wonder who's over here doing
Like
it.
people are
This one.
unintentionally baiting. I think it's the healer.
So healer over there.
The priest, yeah.
Then we come along.
Maybe warlock.
Warlock, yeah.
Does that kind of look like a warlock?
Here
Not sure.
The middle of the room. This circle here is actually a little suspicious. It's a little farther than it should be, but and here again you can see
suspicious.
AMS trivializes that.
Yeah, the evoker thing. Let's check that again here real quick. He goes over the first blazes of the fight. This evoker does it here too, on the edge, and does both of them.
Your blaze, and there's
And he highlights it.
during this one, so you can see again. Look at this beautiful work by our evoker down here. Right, we've got the blazes starting to come out. They've got a blaze over here. Oh,
that's awesome. Like if we can get that down, that's gonna probably help our P1 more than anything.
Yeah, I would say.
The baiting's huge.
Other than
Well,
the
and then
personals,
the people who aren't baiting need to be very stacked on the boss because we're having people who aren't baiting that are like unintentionally getting
baiting
the
them
closest
towards.
tag because they're not stacked on the boss.
Yeah, everybody kind of needs to be aware of it as a team.
As soon as it actually starts sucking in, you called over voice every time. Danger, right? Look out. Defensive if you need to. And then we're also coming into the barrier. Danger. So this is a part where this one is Out of this Mythic Soaks, we all have to spread for our blazes.
Yeah.
And also bait frontals that are coming out at the same time.
This
So you
one's
can see
pretty
here,
scary.
This one is kind of suspicious.
It's the
That's
same
the barrier.
timing though.
This is pretty natural.
The
here.
other
There's
one.
gonna be a suspicious
We will have
opportunity
barrier
set.
here. We're gonna actually
This
have
is
domes. I'm
what
gonna
I
call
call the
domes.
voice every time. Danger, right?
We're gonna
Look out,
get in the
defensive if you
domes
need
for
to.
this
And
portion.
then we're also coming into the barrier after this.
So we have
as
both
well.
AMCs here as well.
This is where we're
Yep.
standing for this wildfire, which does do some initial damage to the
Yeah,
room
because
after
that
the
wildfire
attack.
does like a
And then we're also coming
big AoE
into the barrier after this
damage on
as
the
well.
group. So you
This is where we're standing
you
for
go
this
into
wildfire, which does
this
do
dream
some
rend
initial
much
damage to the
healthier
room
if you're
after
in the
cast,
domes.
and also advances this line of fire. After this is the next Dream Rift, which we take. This one, it is actually very nice to take it deep into the fire, deeper than this ideally. On this pull, I took it less far than I should have. And
So
I
they
pulled
go
it, I
up
was like, it's closer
well
to where
past the
it is.
roots.
But the farther it is into the fire, the less strong the suck is for everybody.
This is a
And
little
the
less
longer you have
clean,
to
but it's
react to the
fine.
balls coming your way.
And
Again,
this
we
is
bait
where
all
I
the
would
balls
say
that we can.
personals and
It's a
Healthstone
nice
Health Pot, if you're low, like
slow
the
stutter step towards the edge of
the
the room,
shaman,
and then we start
if they're
moving
picked
as soon as
for
they are all done.
a blaze
Again,
here,
it's straight into
are a little
frontals. We
scared.
take the boss over here by this
Is
room,
that how the tanks
and
have
we're
been
just
moving the
now in a
boss
phase
there?
of
Where
getting
they
ready to
just
push
kind
the
of like
boss.
pivoted
Frontals are
the
coming out.
boss and then like almost backpedaled him a little bit?
I don't see it.
And the longer you have to react to balls coming your way. Again, we bait all the balls that we can in a nice.
So what did you mean? I didn't see a backpedal there.
Or just like when like they're baiting the balls to come out, right? And then they just kind of like almost pivot the boss, and then everybody's on the right side of the
Oh.
boss after that, right? Like
Dream Rift, which
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about right after this.
On this pull, I took it
Yeah.
less far than I should have, and I called it out. I was like,
so like they drag the boss straight, and then he just kind of pivots them here.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be because it's just a scooch anyway. So the tank will naturally scooch over and then it'll pivot the boss because the boss won't. You don't move far enough for the boss to follow actually. So yeah, that's the way it pretty much should be.
React to balls coming your way. Again, we bait all the balls that we can.
Because it's almost like the balls are going through the boss at that point.
My plan here too, by the way, Mazza, if you're watching the recording, is to grip you through. So after this, I'll grip you up. You don't have to run. And then once we're all grouped, this is Banna's Roar, and we just do the movement from there. And he just lol sits right there through all the pull because Death's Advance.
Coordinated, slow stutter step towards the edge of the room, and then we start moving as soon as they are all done. And again, it's straight into frontals, so we take the boss over here by this root, and we're just now in a phase of getting ready to push the boss. Frontals are coming out here. I see that one is coming through me, so I hit my AMS because I don't want to move the boss's frontal. The boss's one is aimed on me, and I would rather just take the extra damage rather than risk hitting somebody who's on.
Dude, why is this dead Nox guy take no damage?
Pop a defensive if one's aimed at me here.
This Mazza
And
guy.
then we get this fire.
I know he's not doing any healing.
Now the
Quadruple
boss
as much.
pushes at 70% health.
What's going on
I
here?
recommend if you have a lot of damage and you're able to get to 70% during this Firestorm cast, just push through the boss. It means you won't be able to steal all of my guild's kill timing or cooldown timings from the logs because we pushed a little bit later than that. But I think it would be better to push during this Firestorm cast because it's a nice long cast.
Early
and the
prog,
boss
we
will
won't
finish
be
the
able to
cast
push much earlier than this, but I think we can start to move our push timing up as we get better and better at the phase.
70% and hit the gas, that damage is relevant for the rest of the fight. Instead, we did what Echo did on their kill, which, obviously they had less damage back then as well. No Hellman chance, any of that stuff, and a lot less eye level. So we waited until the next frontal cast started, and we would say, okay, stop damage, stop damage, stop damage, go, right? And you see we push it to 70% just as this frontal cast is starting. And that one's only like a 2.4 second cast instead of a nice 4-second cast, so it's a little bit less good. But you can do a bunch of damage to the boss during this time, and all of this until it flies away. All of this free damage is very nice. If you're really slow, you do get another set of triple soaks here.
We will not.
If your damage
It's
is that
cursed
bad
if you
and
get
it's not
there.
the first few pulls, you're gonna have problems on this fight with the overall damage tech. So
Yep.
ideally, I think you want to push by this 220 Firestorm. But if not, then the 225 frontal is totally fine. If you get the 234 triple soaks, that is bad damage that you have in your raid. Okay, that's phase one. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope it.
Thanks, Dr. Atnos.
Big Dr. Atnos.
So yeah, I think just to recap, on this. I think in terms of Prague, our priorities, things that we really need to focus on. Number one is position early for drops, soaks, just to keep them clean. 2, learn how to bait and prioritize that. Like the that would be huge for our early deaths for sure. And then 3, stack tight and hold until Scooch is called or Dreamrend. What other ideas did we come up with? I think those are some of the biggest ones. If we can get those 3 things clean, we're going to start seeing late in the phase very quickly, and also be able to cleanly push. There is quite a bit of debate right now in terms of the meta, just letting you guys know about heroism. A lot of guilds are actually, they're, well, not guilds, but some of the raid leaders that have killed it before are recommending that guilds lust in P1, because P1 is actually one of the more dangerous. It's similar to Tindral, and then just push the boss way earlier, and the goal is to beat the second Dreamrend, so you don't have like any starts. For
The first.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the fastest skill in the world. That's what they do. They lust P1, right?
Yeah, and I would imagine that would be the case, right? Because it's like the cleanest in terms of all cooldowns, all trinkets, all pots, everything or whatever. But boss damage does not matter in P1, right? It's just in P2, P3 that matters. So my initial thoughts around that and the meta of people starting to lust this in P1 is that I don't think it's going to be what's best for us, particularly as a group, because I think we'll struggle to meet the damage check later in the fight. And also it means we have to be much cleaner in executing P3. So what I'm hoping to do is overload some cleanliness into P1 so that we can gain that consistency, so that we can lust P2 and not have to worry about the damage check really for the rest of the fight. That's where my thought process is now, but I just want you guys to know and just be like transparent about that from the rip.
It's like worthwhile to lust early just to see later phases at the start.
Yeah, that's pretty meta. A lot of guilds will lust just P1 early just to try to get later. However, Muck's point of actually feeling what the healing checks are like was really good as well, and that was helpful to us. We don't have enough pulls for me to know whether or not I want to start lusting P1 just to see Prague. I think maybe we do if somebody dies, or definitely in the intermission if somebody dies. And maybe early on intermission just to take some pressure off of damage. We do it, but yeah, ultimately the goal is to push it back. Most guilds will also push it back all the way to P3, but I would argue that I think P2 is just better.
Yeah, another consideration is we do run 3 mages, so our comps is kind of unique.
That's
And
true.
By lusting early, we'll get 2 extra lusts on 3 players.
Yeah, the mages would definitely like that for sure. But yeah, again, the boss damage doesn't matter in P1 per se, right? Like it doesn't net you any sort of less mechanics in what people argue. Yeah. Appreciate it though. That's good.
Well, it would be worth if we beat the second Dreamrend, right? But if we're not even with it, if we're not going to beat it anyways, then it's not worth, right?
Yeah, but we pretty much will beat the second Dreamrend once we get the practice on it. There are some guilds that beat it without lust, so if we can't get it with lust, we'd be in big trouble. But still, I still think if we can get away with lusting later and not having to rip it, I just don't have enough pulls on it to get a sense of how well we're doing in P1. If we get a bunch of inconsistency and deaths, especially after the second Dream Rend, then I'm going to start to see the argument a lot better. But what it does is it's going to put a lot of pressure on us to do a bunch more damage and be more technical and manage a longer P3 phase. So it comes at a pretty heavy trade-off. So it's just something to be aware of, and I don't think I have enough information on our guild and how we're going to perform just yet to say whether or not it'll be better for us. But my gut says send it early P2 and get the boss damage we need and get it out of the way, which lines up pretty well. Like it really does, because you want to hold through intermission your DPS CDs anyways, pretty much everybody, so that you can get real boss damage out. So pretty much everybody has their CDs back after the intermission when the boss lands at 3 minutes. All the 3-minute classes that sent on the beginning, and yeah, 1 and 2 minute classes that held through the intermission, which they should, will have their CDs there too. So we get a lot of damage that way on the boss, which is good. Okay. Any other ideas or thoughts about P1 before we... Dude, why am I trying to meet Julia, 55-year-old blonde from Ukraine? Nice. Thanks.
Good age.
Thanks, eHarmony. He's looking great though. Okay. So maybe what we do is we take a look at a couple of different intermissions. What a lot of leaders argue is that intermission is the hardest phase of the fight, just in terms of like learning. Let's take a look at their intermission here. This guild is typically pretty clean. Okay, so he's R3 here. So something to note is that the 3s, actually 1, 2, and 3, if they count from the outside like you're supposed to count, they typically end up taking the middle ones, and number 4s and number 5s early on don't get very many, right? So it's just something to keep in mind, is that the orbs reduce in the number that spawn every single wave because it just increases the radius as you go out, right? So he's 3 here, but he's actually, if you count 3 red orbs, he's actually pretty close to the mid. And I think the purple one was in mid, like... It's 3 there, so he goes a little further out on that one. This happens pretty quick, and then this is the immune set. So you look to get, if you're not the immuner, you're looking to get anything that might leak through, but other than that, it's just managing blazes.
What happens if you soak the wrong color orb? Is it an insta death?
I really worry about our blazes.
They don't even... Yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental that we're going to need to get. That's a good point too, Tara, because it's one of those mechanics, just like roots on Tindril, that go throughout the entire damn fight. So you have to...
If you've done heroic every week multiple times, like you're used to them, but how many people in our raid have done heroic multiple times every week for the past 4 months?
Yeah, so learning to plant with the blazes and how to move just directly along the line and not, you know, the reason you do that is you want it to be as telegraphed as possible, right? So that everybody else can dodge your blaze. So you're trying to be as considerate of the other 19 players as you possibly can. So yeah, definitely, that's definitely something we're gonna need to work on. I guess Breath of Eons has to go this way because that's an insta kill right in the middle of the boss. But Sim, you're what I've heard, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but what I've heard is that even tanks are not recommended. It will obliterate you if you soak an orb that is not your color. So like a tank dies through it with all their stuff. So I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but that's all I've heard about that. So the key here really is, first when you get to the phase, you look for your color. You want to know this guy. So it tells you like right before you gate actually what color you are. you look at that, let me see if I can pause it right when it does it. Yeah, so it's like right as the boss lands, it assigns you a color. You want to know what color you are, and this is in the Liquid Weak Aura pack. It's in the icons. It will tell you like right away, and you want to know ASAP like what your color is. That's really important. And then once I know what color I am, then okay, am I right or left, and then what number am I? And then you know how many to count. And honestly, if we can get that down, like that's going to be huge for us. We're going to be able to make so much quicker progress if everybody already knows how this works before we get there. Because teaching this in real time is like is kind of a pain in the ass, right? So
what is that debuff's name? Do you know?
Oh, the one that no, I do not. The one that assigns that to you. We can look, maybe. How would we look at that?
What are you looking for?
What the debuff
name
is
of
called.
The debuff that gives you either purple or red.
A private aura, isn't it? Or then they rechanged it.
It's not now. No. So anyway, so in his case, he notices he's orange, right? And he's on R3. So he counts orange orbs. He ignores the purple ones. And so these spawn off of the things, and he counts 1, 2, 3. He knows this is my orb. And then he soaks it. And then new orbs spawn right here, and he turns around again. Notice he turns around to count the orbs. There's no other way to do this. You have to turn around and count. That's it. Like I don't know how to stress that enough. Like you have to, every time the orbs spawn, and I'll call when they spawn when you need to turn and count. But he knows 1, 2, 3. He's soaking R3 orange. So he'll go and move up a little bit, and he'll grab it. Yep. And then these are immunes, so he's not turning to look through the third set. So there's just 2 sets. That's literally all that happens. And then there's 3 sets of blazes, I believe, in total that we're doing. But healers should be planted and pumping. As long as you're not taking double blazes there, you should be fine. So I wanted to go through that there because Dratnos' guide talks mostly about the weak aura and the macros and how to troubleshoot the weak aura, because that was what was holding guilds back the most on this fight. But now that it's not, and it just basically auto assigns, you just need to make sure that your weak aura is up to date, and all of our weak auras are the same version. So we'll have to double check that, Buckus, and just make sure that's the case, because if it's not, if you're running, sometimes it can screw with you too if you're running an old version of the Liquid Weak Aura pack that's like, let's say from well, whatever, Abridged, right, the last tier, or any of the previous tiers, it will mess with this. So you just want to have a clean new version, nothing old, and no other Weak Aura packs. You don't want to be running some other Weak Aura pack as well, like Northern Sky or whatever. Just the liquid one, to be online with everybody else and communicating what we need to be.
So if somebody is an idiot and grabs your orb, can you just turn around and grab whichever one?
Well, you won't really have enough time to react if they do that. It's because they fly in pretty fast. So like if somebody grabs my orb here, then I won't be able to get over. I might like hit a purple orb on the way over or something like that. It's really not realistic. If somebody grabs your orb, usually that means that there's more soakers, right, than we need orbs for. Like I think there's only if you look at it and you count it, let's see, on this side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe, and 6 on the other side. So you're looking at 13 orbs that spawn here with 20 raiders to soak. If you miss one, like there's somebody else in that area that should be getting it. So yeah, you might be able to make a last minute save, but I wouldn't plan on it. I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of.
I mean, I would think if someone took your orb, it means somebody took their orb for the situation, so then we're fine. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, usually.
Because
I wonder-
round 3 is when we're like, I think everyone who's assigned will need to get one, but we have immunes for that phase, right?
Okay.
7, maybe 8. So 7 on each side, 14 plus one more, 15, maybe 16 on this one. So we have 4 people as backups on the second set, and then this last set is all immunes. So you don't need
I
to worry
guess I
about
was
that
just
one.
asking how forgiving it is, and it seems pretty forgiving.
Kind of. As long as everybody is focused, right? It's highly unforgiving if one goes
You're
through into
4
the
or
boss.
5, it's kind of forgiving because you probably don't. Either of you could get the orb for the first 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually
But
4 and 5 is
if you're
assigned to
1,
healers.
2, or 3, it's never forgiving.
Okay.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3s are very important. So we have people that are hard assigned to that. So it'll be the tanks, Mazza or Emperor Vex, Avalard, and Banna is currently assigned there. I could reassign her, and it would auto assign somebody else, and it would auto kick her over here. But I don't think this matters too much. Our druids can actually just turn away and face away from the boss perma. They never need to face. They're just sending hots,
Who
and
needs
so
to aim spells?
yeah. So the 3 R druid VODs that I've seen, the druid just turns away. They're faced over here. They're like not even looking at the boss. And so you should be able to get that soak, and I don't think it's going to hurt you
That's
too
fine.
much. In terms of healer cooldowns for that, you are getting a flourish off. It looks like what they're doing with the ramp here, Banna, is at the end of the phase, they're ramping and blanketing, and then right at the beginning of the phase, they're popping flourish after the gateway. So they take the gateway and then flourish in there on the first set of orbs. Cool. So that's that. That's anybody here have any questions about how the intermission works? It's going to be very, very killer for us to figure that out early.
So on your healer sheet, you have all the mage mass barriers assigned together. I think we talked about this during the weekend where we tend to stand together and they don't really overlap. Is there a way
They
to
overwrite.
Yeah, they overwrite or something. Is there a way to spread them out or?
We can. Are you sure that's the way it works?
Yeah, because they have 2 instances, and one of them absorbs 0 damage.
That's super bull crap if that's the case. That's a
How
super
do you
bull
guys
crap
stand
bug.
together? Come
We're
hang with
assigned
us.
to generally the same spots. And usually range are assigned
That's
to
lame.
similar areas. It's
We need someone to be a battle mage, hop in melee, help out the homies.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I can work on that and spread them all out. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
It's not a
it
big
might
deal.
even
It's not a
help
huge
if you
difference, but-
do them 5 seconds apart almost.
Yeah,
and
that's what
have,
I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
first,
can.
then Caligon, then Ziddy.
I can rainbow cascade them basically across and just break these all up. And
Because they last,
that'll be
8
fine.
seconds? Or 10 seconds?
They
That's
last
long
like
time, right?
a minute, but they
Well,
usually get eaten really
You should
early.
account that Caligon pops his right when the aura tells
Yeah,
him.
he's
to,
Yeah,
eight
and doesn't
it's just a
before.
normal
Yeah.
barrier, so it's 30 seconds duration.
Oh, so
But
it's
it absorbs
You want me to account for that?
that? One of these soak mechanics will get eaten up really quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And in a fight like this, it definitely gets eaten up pretty quickly. And if you guys happen to not be standing all on top of each other, it's not too bad. So I think spreading them out just a little bit would be the play for sure. I'm not gonna do that here during this time, but
Yeah, for sure.
thanks for the reminder. I'm just gonna make a quick note of that. Spread massy bees. Got it. Okay. Cool. Any other thoughts about intermission? We're worried about blazes. How many are there actually? There's first blaze early, and this is before. No, there isn't a first blaze. There's blaze right as the orbs come out. No, the timer's wrong. There still hasn't been a blaze. Has there not been a blaze this whole phase so far? Am I crazy?
Do you get blazes in the first one, or is it only in the second?
It went through the second wave, and there was still no blazes. So no blazes. This is first wave.
It's warning them right there. It's saying blaze on his screen.
But
right?
there's no blazes. Yeah, exactly. Second orbs. No blazes. And it's only
When
on
was
the
this
immune
video?
set? This is 2 months ago.
2 months? Oh, okay.
That's strange. I would have expected to see blazes already. I don't know if they are bugged out on this poll or not. We'll have to kind of take a look at that.
There you go.
They're pretty close, by the way, on this shield. I like this distance. I think keeping it about as close to the red line as you can get it. You got a second set of blazes right here at the end. I'd rather deal with the blazes, and then heal through than beat this boss early, because if we beat that shield early, it means we sent too many cooldowns on this set, and we'll need to pull cooldowns back. But again, remember, we have people assigned to that on our sheet. So Malvaskin, Terra Blast, and Buckus will be using CDs on the shield early on. That's overkill, by the way. We should be able to pull them off. And I would even, depending on, I would also save pots for this. If you're using CDs, I would use CDs and pots just to make sure that we get through this shield phase. But most likely we'll end up pulling at least 3 of these players off of the shield and put it on heroism on the boss. Probably 3. If we can get 4, that'd be amazing. But we actually don't really need to pull Buckus because he has CDs back up for the Lust as well, even if he CDs this. So if we can get 3 of the players off of the shield, that would be awesome and be the long-term goal. But for early prog, we want to just make sure we beat the shield and not die to lack of DPS and just peel away from there. So I think we looked at this POV for cages. Maybe let's look into, if we don't have anything, Dratnos, Fyrakk, P2. Maybe let's just look at his set for this one. AFK Journey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and welcome to Fyrakk Phase 2.
Thanks.
So let's take a little detour to talk a little bit about potions. If you're pushing P1 early and you're beating the intermission shield, it's actually pretty good to just pot here at the start of this phase, and then you can pot again at the end of the fight. You're not going to get to pot during Lust if you do this, but those pots are good for boss damage. 2 pots outside of Lust is better than 1 pot in Lust for boss damage. The other option is to pot some of the ads in this phase.
We're actually lusting here, so you get a pot in Lust and pot at the end of the fight.
Or pot intermission and pot the Lust. Either of those are fine as well, but it's probably a little bit
that meta hadn't really been discovered by the time he made this video.
Alright, so phase 2 is underway. The boss lands, and this actually does sizable fall-off damage, so the farther away you can get from it, the better. And then we want to take the boss over here to the back of the room. That's because throughout this entire phase, blazes are much more important than they were up to this point. If any of your blazes hit any of the friendly ads, the fight, it's not over, but it's pretty close to over. It's very, very bad if the boss ever hits any of these, any of the ads with any of the blazes. So, first things first is we're gonna see that one side here, and let's actually, I'm gonna show you this as soon as you can see it. The boss lands, the boss jumps to the tank. You want to, if you're the tank that's tanking here, you want to taunt at the end of the intermission so that it will jump to you. And then you will see these swirlies starting to go to the back of the room. One of them will be 5, and one of them will be 1. And the 1 is going to turn into a big tree, and the 5 are going to turn into 5 little spirits. And this is actually important because it could either be left or right. You could either get the tree left and the spirits right, or you could get the tree right and the spirits left. And whichever side has the 5 spirits is going to have trees on the next 2 spawns, and whichever side has the tree is going to have spirits on the next 2 spawns. And spirits are a lot more annoying to dodge with your blazes. 5 spirits are a lot harder to dodge than 1 big tree, even though it's bigger. So you want to play for most of the fight on whichever side of the room has the tree instead of the spirits, because it's easier to dodge that with your blazes. So what you want to do is you want to make a call. Somebody needs to be responsible for making a call as soon as they see this that says, all right, this fight, like this pull, we'll be playing the third blazes on the skull side, right? We've got a skull marker over on this side. The skull side is where there are the 5 adds. That's going to be where there are going to be trees instead on the next 2 spawns. So this fight, we're going to
red side works.
on the skull side.
Notice how much he spent almost 3 minutes basically to tell you that your blazes and the ads and being aware of those 2 things are really important. So just notice that. That's going to be huge for our prog, is the more aware we can be. What I would do, if you're not yet, is be at a camera angle and a zoom level so that if you get blazes like he does here, you can see all the way to the end of your blazes, so you know exactly where your blaze is. So this is similar to the idea of the blazes with frontals, is that you need to be able to see the frontals all around you as well as the blazes under your feet. This is a similar idea. So a zoomed out camera and a good camera angle is definitely key, and just keeping an eye on the spirits.
And we get blazes. Blazes here are why we're playing this on this side of the
Tanks can get blazes as well, so this is something that everybody has to play with.
Nice and easy. As soon as those blazes are done, we are now running to the front of the room. The boss again blasting the tank, doing these fun frontals. Tank actually in a little bit of danger here. This is a spot where you need.
So this is actually completely repeatable. We do this, all of this, twice throughout the fight. So watching this, the tanks pull it up here to keep it away from the spirits for the blazes. Then as soon as the frontal and the blazes happen, the tanks zoom down to this end, and we play the next blazes over here.
Nice and easy. As soon as those blazes are done,
and this positioning is basically all because of blazes and ads for the most part.
Tank actually in a little bit of danger here. This is a spot where you need to make sure you budget your defensives carefully. And now we get Greater Firestorm, which is a bunch of swirlies, an absolute boatload of swirlies in melee. 2 Infernals spawning on the tanks, and another set of blazes. And at the same time, we have ads spawning. And look at this. There are 5 spirits spawning over here, and there's a big tree spawning out of frame behind and to the left. This is why part of the spot where we're playing on skull side is because these people with blazes just have to dodge 1 tree, whereas if they were playing on this side of the room, they would have to dodge all 5 of these spirits with their blaze lines. So you can see these people adjusting their blaze so that it's not going to hit the tree that's spawning over here, and nobody is over on this side, so they don't have to dodge and avoid hitting these spirits. Now me and the
That's very clean.
Stack up and take a bunch of damage from all those swirlies, and then bang, down come these colossi. Now the colossi, there's 2 different types on Mythic. There's a dark colossi and a burning colossus. Sorry, dark colossus and a burning colossus. There's also a shadow cage mechanic and a molten eruption mechanic in this phase. But curiously, the shadow cages stop when you kill the burning colossus. The burning colossus actually just controls both mechanics. So you should target the burning colossus and get it killed first if you want to make this fight as easy as possible. Liquid on their kill even cleaved, and they did an extra set of shadow cages and molten eruptions. I recommend not doing that and just killing the burning colossus as fast as possible, dodge the second set of shadow cages, and you'll be very happy.
Yep, 100%.
How do we handle the first set of shadow cages? I'm glad you asked. So the first set of shadow cages are going to come out, and alongside them, molten eruptions are also going to come out. 4 people.
We will have AMZs for this, by the way. The goal with the AMZ is it's right in the center, and so the 2 of the shadow cages should be on red on this side of the AMZ, the extreme side, and then 2 of the shadow cages should be on this extreme side of the AMZ on blue. It's kind of the way that that's designed. That's why it's so close, is so that all 4 players can be in the AMZ.
These are both also private auras, but unlike the intermission private auras, you actually can play around this with reactive gameplay to some extent, or you can use the macro, but there are some guilds that do this reactively, and it's actually totally feasible to do that. So the shadow cages, I'll explain how to do it with the macro. The shadow cages don't use a macro either way, and what you want to do is you want to get 2 people onto the skull marker, or onto the square marker, and 2 people onto the X marker. And the specific position of this marker, you can see where it is on the ground for us. It's on this little feature on the ground. But the important thing is that it's within range of an AMZ to hit both of them. And so the people with the shadow just stack up. You want them to stack up 2 on one side and 2 on the other. If 3 people stack on the same side, it's okay, but they need to pop a defensive or definitely be in the AMZ. You can see here that the X people aren't actually on X. They're stacked up a little bit outside of X, and they're not inside the AMZ. So they would be in danger if this
Blue was a little
split
close in
go
here
out
and kind of
one time.
forced them out.
But you want to try and make it a 2-2 split. Again, people are just doing this reactively. They're trying to form a 2-2 split without any Weakora telling them how to. In the meantime, the 4 people that got the Molten Eruption are pressing a macro. They're pressing the same macro from the first intermission, and the way that macro works
Or the
is
smolder
that
on
one of the
macro.
people will be
Yeah.
assigned to go and break on square, and one of them will be assigned to go and break on X. Because
The one that I've asked you guys to use as well is in our Abridged Fyrakk channel, and it's the one that's up here. Screen. So it'll be this one right here. This is just so that we have a record, right? Like a chat record that it got pressed, because otherwise we have no idea if you pressed it or not. And then that will help us troubleshoot it for you. If not, so you can just basically copy all of this. And then it's also the same thing that you would need to drop the seeds or place the seeds as a barrier. Same button. So you just need one button for both of those, because you don't ever need both of these in the same phase. So you don't need a separate keybind for the macro and for the extraction button. Healers.
Are you screen sharing something right now?
Yeah. Does it not show the Discord?
No.
Oh, it just shows. Okay. Let me see. Does it have it here? Well, anyway, it's in our Discord, in the Fyrakk channel, is what I was trying to show everybody. I have it on my screen, and it's gonna
right there.
It's gonna be on the recording, but it won't be on the Discord stream because it's not a screen capture.
You can see it right there. /ping at.
No, this is a different one. Yeah, that's not the one that we'll need. This is the one that he made that's like super fancy for the last phase. If you need to find your partner, you make a macro for the name of your partner, and it will ping your partner for you so you can see who they are and where they are, because they had some issues with that. We won't actually need to do that. The way that the boss has been nerfed, we actually don't even need to pass seeds at all, and don't need to have partners really at all. We just have one person that picks them up, so we don't need to deal with that complexity. But anyway, it's in there in the Fyrakk, the Blazing channel, in our Abridged channel above next boss discussion. So definitely check that out. Healers don't need to mess with it, because, and he'll probably go over that here, but it's not recommended that healers, even if they get this eruption, press it. Only one healer at a time can possibly get it, so there's 3 other players that can press, and healers are dealing with other stuff, with the spirits and stuff, and they don't want to also think about this and have the cognitive load to break their friends out.
Actually goes off, it's going to stun these people.
Boom.
And the only way they can get broken out is by a Molten Eruption happening on top of their head. So 4 Molten Eruptions go out, but they only need to actually, there's 2 stack points. So 2 of them will go and break, and you see they have breaking X and breaking square because they've pressed their macros, and so the Weakora knows that they actually have Molten Eruption, and they go and stand on those people. And the other 2 people who press their macro later don't go in and stay on the outside, and they just stand and take this AoE damage without stacking it on top of anybody. This is the easiest way to do this mechanic. But what you might want to emphasize is like, hey, if you're a healer or a hunter or somebody that needs to be far away for whatever reason during this point,
you don't
press
need
your macro right away, right? Or make sure that if you do press your macro, you're actually ready to go in and break out these shadow cages, because it's a bit of a disaster if you press it and then you don't get there on time. Those people are just stunned forever. Or you could leave the Burning Colossus alive until you get the next Molten Eruptions, but every time we tried to do that, it was a disaster. So yeah, they go on top, they break these people out, bang, mechanic solved. That's all there is to that one, and then you kill the Burning Colossus. You can see I'm not actually targeting it because I need to keep threat on the Dark Colossus, but almost everybody else is targeting the Burning Colossus, and it will die before the next cages actually trigger. Okay, then the boss flies across the middle of the room, and we get 11 ads spawning here. Now this is the Weakora that Evelinari, our healer and Weakora expert, created. That's actually really good. And this
we don't need any of this.
You can, based on
we have a DH tank that can solo all the CC on these ads, so it's fine.
Most progressed cast of any of these ads, and then it will give you this bar that shows you how long is left on that cast, and then the person who's supposed to interrupt them and the
skip
button
this.
they're going to press to interrupt them.
That's actually insane. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a sick weak aura, but
How do you write that shit? Like,
Oh, the one for like the each individual person has their assignment. Just
yeah,
whoever
that
drinks
thing's
it.
insane.
So good.
Make this as easy as possible, unless you have something like 2 Death Knights. So the way this worked, here is the ads as they spawned. These left 2 in my raid were handled like Echo did with Death Grip. Then 3 and 4, we would handle these with 3 would be a knock belt from the mage in one set, and from
you don't need to do that.
the other set.
The druid or an evoker can do both.
Towards the middle,
Yeah, okay.
3 got knocked towards 4, and that would happen on both.
That doesn't need to happen. You can push both of those.
And so
These are both
the other 5. Then over here we'd have
Mass Grip
1 get
range.
trapped and stay trapped until we could deal with it.
We don't
later.
need to do that because we have 2
2 would get
DKs.
knocked by our hunters would alternate knocking 2 with their knock belts. And then 3 and 4, we would have a different evoker on each set that would be responsible for knock belting and then evoker racialing towards the middle. That's how we handled this. It's pretty similar to how Echo handled it. And
luckily ours is, I think, is a lot cleaner and simpler. So just going.
But I can hit 2 with mine, generally speaking.
Yeah, the way that they're spread out on the side, you probably can't. I have this sequence, by the way, of.
I can do the 2 far outside ones. I don't know, but I've never tried doing ones not the 2 edge ones. But I can hit 2 with mine.
Yeah. Yeah, so you might see, I don't know, typically guilds won't have the shaman assigned to it, so yeah, you might have some tech.
Well, most shamans are assigned to interrupt
knocking it,
in the
yeah.
PC chain because we get the knockup.
Right.
Like,
yep.
100% of the shaman logs have that talent. So.
Yep. Because nobody runs a DH tank, everybody runs a pally. So, I tried to illustrate how this works with the shadow cages and the breaking, and then there's the breath. Right after the breath, by the way, we run in. There are blazes and ads spawning, so we run in to take our blazes over here and also just be ready for everything to be grouped up. So as soon as the breath is gone, we are sprinting towards the center, and I believe I have our movement cooldowns assigned to that. Because that's actually really important that we do that quickly. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. 4 o'clock? Or 3 to 5? Yeah,
this is right after the cage stuns. We can do it a little bit later for the lines. But I put it on the cage stuns and that's fine, it'll be there. And then Banna's is, I want to move that actually a little bit later. Breath. Yeah, on the cage stuns there. But anyway, that'll be there. So important that we do that. But yeah, and I was going through our plan. So as far as our plan here, this is actually how 3 and 4 are kind of grouped up, which is why one person can solo push those in. For whatever reason, they just have their own quirk where they're grouped up that way. And they are that way for both breaths and the phase. But for us, I won't save this, but it's really important that we get the grips very quickly. Mazza should be able to stand on 5 and grip both of these in from 5, because again, 5 and 7 are in mass grip range. So this is good. By the way, War is pressing his grippy hands on this to help us clean up if we're dirty with any of this. So if yours gets gripped in early, don't worry about it. It's just good for us to have like an insurance package basically on it.
I got one question about this part. So War's grips, it's just like 2 globals to get 10 and 11, and then I can hit mine.
Yep, he should be able to, we can do that here. So War should be able to stand on Vex's kick here, and grip, oh shoot. Those are actually 2 separate textures, but he should be able to grip and then grip basically here, these 2 on here. Knock. Then you knock. And so Banna, you're waiting for all this to happen. So if there's something behind you, Banna, you don't push yet. And then you push here. And the same thing on this side, right? Mal will want to
mine before I knock it if it's not, the grips aren't done yet.
It should happen so fast you shouldn't have to, but if we're in the early learning phases, yeah, definitely send a kick on it while you're waiting. But it should happen very quick. It should just be grip, and then you thunderstorm, And the cast time is 4 seconds. It's a pretty long cast time. So if we're in position and we're ready to do it, you shouldn't need to kick that at all.
It's 4 seconds in a channel, yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. And so Mazza will do a grip to 5, grip to 5. I believe that's long enough range. Might need to do some research on that. So Mazza and War, if you're watching this, that might be incorrect. You might actually have to stand out on 4 and 8 to grip the far out ones, and then you can grip the other one closer if you want. I don't think so, though. I think you can actually reach all of it from these ads. We'll have to check that. And then Bana pushes this one in. Well, great at this. And then Mal pushes these 2 in right here, and then Mazza targets the Burning Colossus right in the middle, and mass grips this all together. And if we made any mistakes, the War's grippy hands should be running and should get anything that's outside. That is how that works. Any questions about that ad set? What we probably will do once we start getting to this set is we actually will look to get a heroic lockout, and just practice this on heroic, getting there, because we can save ourselves a bunch of pulls getting practice in on this, because this is exactly the same on heroic with the assignments, and it's hard to get back here consistently, right, to get practice on it on mythic. So we can actually make our pulls much faster at this point. So just be aware of that. If you know anybody that has a heroic Fyrakk lockout, hit me up, and let's try and get that. But that'll be a problem for a later day when we get there.
Can't we skip to heroic for?
I think we can get one in like 20 minutes.
We have to.
Yeah, we could probably get one tonight.
We can skip to Smolder on. What's up, Dirt? Yeah, we can skip to Smolder on and then clear the 2 bosses, three bosses beforehand. But it'd be nice to have that ready to go and in our back pocket for Prog Nights. Cool. So that's that, and then this all gets clustered on top of each other. Boom, boom, and then I believe there's I'm not going to be able to find it, but there is a combo between like Nova and Misery and then Silence Chains that Veritas can do that just solo CCs all of these so they don't cast. By the way, for this, nobody is speccing AoE. We don't have any AoE specs in the raid. These will die with just some of the natural AoE that some of our specs have on their own. Basically, we don't spec AoE to kill these.
So much single target damage, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah. You're actually so sick for this. So you finish off the golems for us really well.
I'll do so much damage
at this
with
point.
a full 6 stack of flame shock rolling.
Yeah, funneling into him. So and so we target the Burning Colossus, kill that Burning Colossus as quickly as possible. We have about 30 seconds before it cages us again, and we can't get caged twice, really, is what Dratnos basically went over. So that all happens at the same time. We drag the Burning Colossuses into the middle while blazes are happening. We watch our blazes, make sure we don't blaze these guys, and then we do the grouping. So we'll see that in real time here, how that works out.
Back up with high explosive trap on this side to try and knock in any stragglers, which you'll see we actually did get on this pull. So here's that in action. I'm targeting the...
So he's almost near the middle. Yeah, so he's able to grip both of those. Yeah, basically.
And everything is trying to get towards the middle for a mass grip. I press mass grip. Unfortunately, these 4 are all outside of range of the mass grip, which is more than usual, although it's actually pretty common. We would usually have 1 straggler. 4 stragglers was a lot for us. So as soon as that happens...
By the way, Mazza, he targeted the middle Screaming Soul to mass grip. If the Burning Colossus is in the middle, I'd rather target that, because then it'll grip the middle one and interrupt it, but that's just a small optimization. You obviously can target the middle one and mass grip and win as well. So
the call gets made. All right, we've got 4 stragglers. How are we going to get these in? And you can see people starting to use those backup abilities, right? Our mage is going over, going to blast wave these ones in. And we now only have 2 stragglers. In the meantime, this interrupt order...
These guys don't have grippy hands, which is why they have to have a bunch of people knock these, right?
Chaos Nova go off.
So we'll have grippy hands that'll basically get all of those. So we don't really need to do that. So War, if you're watching this, you might want to delay your grippy hands just a little bit and not send it right away, but send it close to when the mass grip happens or just after would be the best use of that. And then Mazza's mass grip will be up. The grippy hands, I mean, grippy hands and mass grip will be up for the second set of ads. We do all this twice, basically. We're almost done here. This is basically rinse repeat. So if you think about it, the boss just landed there. You see the fire. He does that fall off damage, flame fall, fire damage. That's just the exact same thing that happened at the beginning of phase 2. And so we're rinse and we're repeat. Hopefully we kill the burning colossus by here. Yep.
And again, you also just want to keep them interrupted. And then there's that last one.
And then we basically...
Or what was that add-on, the list that he had to the right of his name when the ads were still up? Was that just an interrupt order?
That was a CC for them once they're grouped, but like I said, that's useless for us because we have a DH tank.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need that at all.
Blast wave these ones in.
Good question.
And then our next person's up. They're going to Chaos Nova. Our next person's up.
We just have a list of Veritas name like 7 times.
Oh, by the way, see how it's hard to see the burning colossus. It's still up, right? Like it's there. What happens is, and this will happen a lot, the shadow cages cast, but the burning colossus will die in the 4 seconds that the shadow cages come out, and so these are fake. But what's interesting is that, you know, as long as the burning colossus dies, these are fake, right? And that's what we're going for, and which is why we funnel everything into that burning colossus, and we don't AoE, and we don't target the dark colossus, right? We just cleave it naturally, whatever efficient cleave you have, but it's really all about finishing that burning colossus on time. What's interesting, so those shadow cages are fake when they kill it here, but these red things are not. Those actually go off. Even though the burning colossus is dead, the red ones will, so just don't stack with your friends on that one. Most likely with our damage, we're gonna get the fake set here most of the time. So that's really something to be aware of. Don't let that surprise you.
Our next person's up. They're gonna cast
these are super fake. Even if they're on top of each other or on top of the group, it's not gonna happen. It's full commit.
And then our next evoker's gonna go, and so on and so on. We do eventually get all of them in, and we get these ads killed together. And again, you also just want
so here, the ads spawn a little bit differently, like the healer ads. Luckily, we won't have that one because we got war scripts at the beginning. These ads spawn a little bit differently. This is the 5 and 5 set. I should have a big ramp on both of these sim, but it's something to be aware of. That's set.
The next intermission. Now, the second intermission, you actually have more cooldowns for, typically, than the first.
So
I would recommend lusting the first not intermission, but the first set of ads rather than the second set of ads.
We will have lust rolling on our plan. If we lust at the beginning of P2, we'll still have lust rolling for when the golems spawn. So that's kind of nice, and then we get cooldowns back for this set. So that should work.
Abomination Limb, which is really powerful.
Something to check too, Mazza and Veritas, if you're doing it. I don't know why they did these off center. I've seen a bunch of guilds actually do it this way, rather than having them centered. I don't know if it had to do with the frontal or whatnot, but
maybe it's just from the AoE pulse, like the initial AoE pulse hitting the tree.
Shouldn't, because that circle's here. Oh, maybe because of his blaze lines, he doesn't want to move over here.
Just here a little bit,
and they grouped wherever they could. Yeah, that wouldn't. I'm worried about what's happening over here, but he's not.
Not intermission, but the first set of ads rather than the second set of ads.
There's nothing going on over there yet. The ads are just not spawning.
They just spawned. Like if you watch that tree.
It's time to do the next intermission. Now the second intermission, you actually have more cooldowns for. Typically,
watch this tree over here. It spawns right before his blaze goes off. So I'd worry about his line that goes over here on the spirits. They're going to be over here. But He's not for some reason, so it's something to look into. Want to answer that. So target the burning right away. I linked a video, by the way, of Andy Brew, the tank for Echo, to Veritas. Mazza, if you're watching this, he recommended that you guys have a taunt macro, so Mazza would have a /target Burning Colossus /taunt or whatever, /cast, whatever your taunt is, I forget what it is, and then Dark Colossus, likewise for Veritas, because these can spawn and then turn and melee somebody pretty quickly. So you guys having a very quick targeting system and taunting system for these is pretty key for getting consistent prog.
So again, Colossi spawn. This one is a barrier rather than an AMZ for these shadow cages.
I'll have barrier. We actually will have Mazza's AMZ here as well. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing these off center. Just send it on the point right here, and then these guys can actually group on the markers. So that'll be nice.
And then our Molten Eruption people press their macro, go and stand on, break those people out. Fyrakk flies.
Anybody have any questions about how those cages and the breaking works before we go on? We haven't gone over that a ton. But the thing that I would want to stress is by the time the cages detonate and stun them, yeah, you only have a 1.5 seconds to get in with the breaking. So you'll want to press the macro early, well before the cages detonate, and know which one you're going to pretty quickly, and just be ready for it. Be close, be ready.
You only need to be overlapping their circle, or if you're the guy breaking, you have to be on top of the players.
On the players.
Okay.
Yeah,
because your red circle is pretty small.
Yeah, the red's much smaller than the purple, so you can't like put yourself like just on the edge and hit them. They did that on purpose. So these detonated, they're stunned, and then they went in, and then boom. It's so fast. Let me see if I can catch that timing again of like how quick that actually happens. It's simple, but it's basically a wipe if you don't do it right, right? Yeah, it's like a 1.5 seconds. Now watch, as soon as the breath goes by, they go mid. Because ads are spawning during these blazes, so you want to get the heck away and watch your blazes. Don't worry about all of these ads that just spawned. Those are not the problem. Your blazes and these healer ads are the problem. Once you're clear of those blazes and the healer ads, then grouping can happen. This has been nerfed. This Searing Scream, it's now twice as long, this cast. You have a full 4 seconds, so don't focus on that grouping as much as these blazes. Obviously, if you're clear of the blazes, Mazza and War, the sooner that you can start the grips, the better for us, but it's not the priority until you're clear of blazes. You know that you don't have one on you, or you know that it's not in a direction that they're going to be in. This is the, if Mal is here, is Mal here? He was here earlier. Looks like he dipped, but if Mal watches this, this is the set with the 3 trees, and Mal's going to rescue this middle tree over to the right. And that's it. That there's going to be a reminder for that for him.
Getting pushed nice together. And then here comes the mass grip.
Hey, Core, one more question on the breakouts. Is it just overall less damage to have a 2-stack of the purple and then 1 to break out than having each person take an individual person?
Yeah, he went over that. It sounds like you need a personal to survive if there are 3 people on top of each other, whereas if there's 2 and 2, you don't need anything. You can just survive it natty.
If it's 3 purples, you need personal.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And it just the coordination to do like 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 would be like insane.
Well, yep. And I guess it frees up the healer to just keep pumping instead of having to worry about stacking a red.
Yep, yeah. Breaking, yep. It's just cleaner on all levels.
The only way that you can get this mass grip off cooldown in time for that is with a Blessing of Autumn on your Blood Decay. So you should make sure that at some point between the first and the second ad set, your Blood Death Knight gets a Blessing of Autumn so that they can deliver that mass grip as intended. Once all these mobs are
I will try to get that timing down.
Who's CCing next? What CC they're using?
Yeah, man.
Our evokers actually didn't often have their CC back.
What I imagine will happen probably, Sim, is that early on, somewhere in P2, you'll get a Blessing of Autumn, and then you'll just need to sit on it and just not cast the blessing for a while. don't know if there's any way for you to game it. Does it always start with Blessing of Summer and
It's
then
the same order every
rotate
time.
the same? Okay, so you'll be able to get it the same.
On boss reset.
Once you figure it out.
resets it.
I bet you if you just watch some Paladin VODs, you'll see exactly what they do. Just like looking for that specifically. Okay, so this is all rinse repeat, right? This is exactly the same as the first time, except for the healer ads just spawn a little differently. So watching the blazes still important.
As we are getting the second set
Do the
of
healer
items
ads still do the
this time around, rather
like
than there being
one side and
one
they
side
alternate
with
to
a
two on
tree
the
and
other
one
one?
side with a spirit, there's instead going to be
You know what I mean?
one
Yes.
side
Yep.
that
Okay.
has both a tree and spirits. So what you want to do on this set is identify which side that's going to be, because you can see as soon as they start spawning, and then your whole raid should go and start playing on the other side. So this time I saw that there's trees on this side, which means the tree and the spirits are both on this side. So I called, all right, on moon side.
That's why I wasn't worried.
See our entire
Is the
raid
tree and
on
the
moon
spirits
side
spawn on one
rather than
side
skull
here?
side, so that we're in less danger of blazing this ancient.
Oh, I'm so glad
Alright,
he went back over
as we
that.
get grouped up,
That's
they get
actually
killed off.
critical.
You need to kill the
Good to
Dark
know.
Colossus before it explodes, which isn't too tight of a DPS check generally, although I'm sure you'll fail it like we did on your first few pulls getting that far. Then we just take this ad down, kill it off.
What happens if you don't kill the Dark
They
Colossus?
get killed off. You need to kill the Dark Colossus.
When they get 100 energy, they start doing like a kill the raid
Oh,
thing.
they explode. Yeah.
Like we did
Good
on
call.
our first few pulls getting that far. Then we just take this ad down, kill it off.
Basically here, you're just boss damage. As much boss damage milk before P3 as you can. There are blazes and ads, but that's it. Just blazes and ads.
Rescues that have gone out here as well.
We don't need to do any of this. This has been nerfed, so we don't need to rescue the trees.
Oh, that's how you can heal faster.
Yeah, we don't need to Mark of the Wild the trees.
The Mark of the Wild is sick tech. 30% extra healing or whatever.
It's just really unfortunate. Our only druid is a resto druid because it's like 30% of her mana to press it. So it's like it's really not worth it unless we blaze something, and we're gonna wipe, then she can save the pull that way so we can see further. But it shouldn't be our plan to have her do that. So
a few different spots that you need to there's actually 3 trees spawning. There's a tree
yeah,
to our left, a tree in the middle.
and I went over that with Mal.
On the last tree and just bring it in early to make sure.
But basically that's it. We're just milking boss damage.
Like you might think. So make sure that your druid is pressing Mark of the Wild as each of those waves come out, and you'll get a little bit more buffer as well. But it's very annoying. You're gonna have wipes to the tree just not getting healed, and they were just a little bit low as they went in, or you didn't get one of these rescues or something, and so that is a fun feature of this fight. Hopefully, one of the first things they nerf about this fight that will make this part of the video obsolete as soon as possible.
Yes.
The other tiny thing that I should mention, which we didn't actually successfully do really on this pull, is a Ring of Peace. So actually this Ring of Peace was attempted to be used. So you remember how on this pull we had the 4 stragglers on the first match?
We don't need to do this, Tara, because Veritas exists.
What you want to do is you want a Ring of Peace towards the side that doesn't have these 5 spirits.
Actually, we could.
And the stack of spirits away from the 5 spirits.
Yeah, to protect these spirits. Okay, yeah.
This is hitting the
Never mind. It's not to interrupt. It's to protect the spirits.
So normally, if we did manage to get them all mass script together,
it's not a wipe if you don't do it, but it's kind of nice. Basically.
On this pull, we didn't do that because we used the Ring of Peace as an anti.
Basically, Sim and I can just get more healing in if you don't get that drop.
That is a useful thing to do if you get that to be a little bit more clean. I think that is all there is, though, to this phase aside from that. So it's pretty mechanically complex phase. One big piece of advice I would give you is practice your ad grouping and CC rotation in Heroic. You can just take your 20 people, go into Heroic, and the 11 ads will spawn, as they do on Mythic, in the same places, and you can just pull over and over again and practice grouping them together until you're comfortable that you can actually do it. I would recommend spending at least 5 pulls on Heroic doing that once you reach this part of the fight. All right, that's phase 2. Let me just.
We can practice watching the blazes too when the blazes do less damage, so that's kind of nice as well.
Yeah, there's less blazes, so it feels less crazy.
Yeah, it'll be really good practice for us if we get to this point and we just have a Heroic lockout and we lust P1 just to get there faster, and then practice the grouping, practice not blazing ads. I think that would be very good for us. Okay. We could go into P3. Are you guys curious about P3? I have about 25 more